So I'm a massive fan of so many A24 horror films, so I thought it would be quite interesting today to maybe make my own tier list and rank all of the ones that I've seen. I have actually recently done another tier list, but that's going to take me a long time to edit, so I thought maybe I would do this one as well, just because it would be a lot quicker for me to edit and get this one out. So the ones that are missing from this list are going to be the ones that either I haven't seen before or ones that I haven't seen in a while, so they aren't so fresh in my mind. I have also included a few horror adjacent ones in this list as well, so if you see something and you're like, that's not really horror, they may just be ones with horror elements that I wanted to personally include on my list. I will also try to figure out if there's a way that I can link this tier list below if you also want to give it a go. Of course, with every tier list we need our categories, so we have categories from S to D. I have renamed the tiers and they all resemble one of the horror films that I'm going to speak about. So S tier is Dream Film, A tier is You're a Star, B tier is I Let You In, C tier is I Prayed That This Would Be Better, and D tier is Turned Me Into a Walrus. So I have all of the films I'm going to rank in alphabetical order apart from the last three, just because it's a trilogy, so it kind of made sense to speak about them all together. Starting off with Ari Aster's newest project, which is Beau is Afraid. Of course, he does have another film coming out very soon, but this is the newest one as I'm filming this video. So this is a really weird film. It's very dreamlike. There is lots of different things going on. There is actually so much going on in this film. It's kind of one where you don't know what's reality and what's real life, but I think that kind of reflects the main character because I don't think he really knows either. There's a lot of symbolism in this film. We go through a journey with the main character and revisit some bad things from his childhood and just different things that have happened in his life. I am a massive fan of Ari Aster's work, but this is definitely my least favourite one from him. I would say this one is more horror adjacent. It is a very strange film. I think I'm going to put this one in I Let You In just because it's not really my favourite. Next we have The Blackcoat's Daughter. This was actually directed by Osgood Perkins, who you may recently know him from directing Longlegs. This was one of his earlier films that came out in 2015. This film follows two young girls at a boarding school. They are kind of stuck there because there is a snowstorm over their winter break. It is a very beautiful film to look at, as is all of Osgood Perkins' work. It's definitely a film that I don't hear too many people talk about. I do really enjoy this film, but again, it's not my favourite, so I think I'm also going to put this one in I Let You In. Next up, we have a horror comedy. We have Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I absolutely love this film. I think it is hilarious, and it also has loads of gore, which I really love. I really like the characters, even though they are annoying. They are just so entertaining to watch. So Bodies, Bodies, Bodies follows a group of friends who decide to play a party game, and the game is called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. In this game, they are all given a piece of paper. Some of them will say that they are a killer, and some of them will say that they are victims. They obviously don't let each other look at the paper, and they set to go and play this game. Turn all the lights off. It's basically like Manhunt, but when you find somebody who is dead, you shout bodies, 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 and everybody comes to investigate to try to find out who they think the murderer is. Obviously, this is only a game, so people shouldn't actually be getting killed, but when they do actually start playing this game, dead bodies do start turning up, so they have to try and figure out what the hell is going on. The twist in this film was just honestly one of the best experiences to watch in the cinema. I'm definitely going to put this one in You're a Star, just because I do really love it, but I know there are ones that I do love a little bit more on this list. Next up is Climax. I am not a massive fan of this film. I thought it was okay, but I think personally I saw so many people speaking about it, saying how disturbing it is and hyping it up, but it didn't really live up to that expectation for me. I think sometimes, unfortunately, that is an issue where people hype things up so much or say something is really disturbing, so I go in thinking it's going to be really disturbing, but it doesn't end up going all the way there what I think it's going to be. There is a lot of dancing in this film. It's a very strange one. This film is about a dance group who end up getting drugged. Their alcohol ends up getting spiked, and it is just the events that unfold from that. I think I am going to put this one in I Prayed It Would Be Better, just because I really did think it was going to be better. It was okay, but I did expect a little bit more. Okay, so next we have Dream Scenario. This is a film starring Nicolas Cage. I personally love Nicolas Cage in horror films and horror adjacent films. I say that because this one isn't a straight up horror film. So in this film, suddenly the main character becomes a massive celebrity, kind of really really well known because he actually shows up in everyone's dreams, but they aren't always nice dreams. Some of them are nightmares, and we do get to see some of them play out, and they are really fun and interesting. Some absolutely terrifying. I really love this film, so I'm going to put it in You're a Star. The next film is Green Room. This one is quite a disturbing film. It is very, very gory. This follows a punk band who go and play at a venue. They don't realise that this venue is actually one with some not so nice people. It is kind of like a skinhead venue. They are people that you definitely don't want to mess with, very violent, and something happens at this gig and the band end up being witnesses to a crime. The owners don't want them to go, so they end up being trapped in this green room, and then it just becomes a whole thing. This one is absolutely crazy. It is a really good film though, so I am going to put it in You're a Star. So we have Hereditary. This is done by Ari Aster, the same person who done Beau is Afraid. This film is very different. This is probably one of the most terrifying films I've ever seen. I think it is absolutely incredible. There are so many emotions. There are so many terrifying moments. Hereditary follows a grieving family that end up having another tragic accident happen, but on top of all of this, there are some strange things going on in the background. They start to uncover some strange things about their family's past and just some strange things that are going on in their family in general. This is definitely going to be my first S tier. I do think this film is almost perfect. Next is Heretic. This is a film that came out last year, and this is a film that is very heavily centered around religion. It is one that kind of has a tone shift into being more of a horror film about halfway through. We follow two Mormon girls who go to a man's house who says he is interested in learning more about their religion, but once they are in his house, they can't really seem to find a way out, and things just progressively get more awkward until they realize that they are actually trapped. This man is trying to make them question their religion, as well as just being an absolute psychopath. I'm going to put this one in You're a Star because I really did enjoy this film. I really, really loved the horror elements to it. I do wish there were more of them though. Next is The Hole in the Ground. This is actually directed by Lee Cronin, who did the most recent Evil Dead film, Evil Dead Rise. In this film, we follow a mother and a son. They have been through a lot, and the mother is trying to rebuild her life, but she starts to realize some things just aren't quite right with her son. I wasn't a massive fan of this one. I am kind of tempted to put it in the last tier, but I don't know if that's too harsh. I feel like maybe I'd need a rewatch, but I think maybe I will put it in the last tier, and then on rewatch it can always change. Next is It Comes at Night. For me personally, this kind of felt like an episode of The Walking Dead. I personally love The Walking Dead, but this kind of felt like a filler episode. Saying that, I still really, really enjoyed it, but I can definitely see why some people may not care for this film because not that much actually happens. We're kind of waiting the whole film for something big to happen, and it never really does. It is still one that I personally would rewatch though, so I'm going to put this in I Let You In. The next film is The Killing of a Sacred Deer. I absolutely love this film. This is kind of like a psychological thriller horror film. A man is perfectly happy with his life and his family until one day a random teenager turns up threatening to ruin everything. It is kind of hard to explain what this film is about, and it is definitely best gone into blind. It has quite a disturbing and a very memorable ending. I'm going to put this one in Dream Film because this was so unexpected when I first went in to watch it. I didn't know at all what it was about, and it really shocked me but also pleasantly surprised me. Next we have Lamb. I have just recently spoken about this film in my Easter video, so if you want to know a little bit more then you can go and check that video out. This one again is kind of horror adjacent. It's about a couple that live on a remote farm, and one day their sheep gives birth to a very unusual baby and they decide to keep it and raise it as their own. I'm going to put this one in You're a Star because I do absolutely love it. The horror elements aren't that strong, definitely more strong towards the end though. Next is The Lighthouse. This is by Robert Eggers and it stars Robert Pattinson and William Dafoe, who are honestly two of my favourite actors, and their performances in this film is definitely one of the reasons why I love this film so much. Their character dynamic and chemistry is just so interesting to watch. This film follows two lighthouse keepers who actually end up getting stuck at the lighthouse that they are looking after because of a storm. They have to stay put and ride out the storm whilst running out of resources, trying to keep their sanity and trying to keep getting along. This is a no-brainer. It's definitely going in Dream Film. The next film is again horror adjacent, and that is Love Lies Bleeding. This is kind of a romantic whirlwind film. It follows a girl who works at a gym and another girl who is a bodybuilder who has dreams of competing in Vegas. Unfortunately, Lou ends up having some problems with her criminal family, so they both have to work through that as well as trying to get to Vegas so Jackie the bodybuilder can fulfill her dream. I'm going to put this one in dream film as well. I just absolutely love this film. It has some really unexpected moments and it definitely has some body horror elements as well. Next is Men. There are a lot of people who dislike this film. I actually really enjoyed it because I found it absolutely terrifying. I felt so panicky throughout the whole film, especially for our main character. So in this film we follow a woman who goes to a new town, but she ends up being kind of stalked and almost haunted by something or someone. There is some absolutely terrible CGI in this film. That is probably one of the biggest problems about it for me. I did actually really enjoy the story and I did like the ending as well, but because of the CGI I am gonna not put it in the top tier. I'm gonna put it in You're a Star. The next film is Midsommar. This is another one by Ari Aster and this is probably my favourite one by Ari Aster, although it is hard and it does depend on my mood if it's this one or Hereditary. Unlike Hereditary where it is a very dark and dreary film, this is mainly set in broad daylight, but that doesn't make it any less horrific and it is extremely gory as well. Midsommar is a very emotional film. We have a really tragic incident that happens at the beginning. This incident happens to Danny's family. She is the main character who ends up going away with her boyfriend and his friends to Sweden because she really just needs to get away from everything that is happening back at home. But when they get there, they start to realize that the locals are acting very strange and maybe part of a cult. This is hands down going in dream film. I absolutely love this film. I really love Florence Pugh. She plays the main character of Danny. Next is Saint Maud. This is directed by Rose Glass, who also directed Love Lies Bleeding. In this film we follow a nurse who goes to stay with a retired dancer who has a chronic illness. This film has some really creepy moments. It does have a little bit of gore, kind of body horror. It doesn't have as many horror elements as some of the other films, but it is still a really terrifying film that has a really interesting ending. I'm going to put this one in I Let You In. We now have my favourite A24 film and that is Talk to Me. This is done by the Raka brothers who started off as YouTubers. This is an Australian horror film and we follow a group of friends who play a party game where they allow themselves to become possessed by using a haunted object, which is a mummified hand. The gore in this film is so cringeworthy. There are some scenes where the gore is honestly hard to look at. There is also meant to be a second film to this coming out and there's also another film coming soon by the Raka brothers called Bring Her Back, which I am so excited for. It is probably my most anticipated film for this year. As I said, this is my favourite A24 film, so obviously it's going in dream film. Next is Under the Skin. This follows a woman who is on a journey through Glasgow. She is a very different person and this film is very interesting. It is very much a slow burn. There is a scene at the end that does kind of ruin it for me, so because of that I am going to put it in I Let You In. Next is another film from Robert Eggers and that is The Witch. In The Witch we follow a family in the 1630s who live on a secluded farm next to a woods where strange things happen. The group actually went to this farmhouse to shoot some adult films, and when the elderly couple find this out, they're not too happy with it and decide to take action. This has an absolute star-studded cast. Obviously it stars Mia Goth and she actually plays Maxxine and Pearl, which is really impressive. She plays this elderly lady, so she's in like full prosthetics. I'm going to put this one in dream film because I do really love this film. The next film that we got from this trilogy was Pearl. This is a prequel. This is about Pearl, who is the elderly lady in X, but this is her story growing up. This is kind of a character study and descent into madness film. The horror elements really come in towards the end. It is really gory at the end. This is actually my favourite in the trilogy, so of course it is going to go in the top tier. Lastly, we have the last film in this trilogy and that is Maxxxine. This film is following on after the events of X. We see Maxxxine as she tries to make her big break in Hollywood. forward. This again is very different from the other films. This is much more of a crime thriller with some horror elements. It does play on the satanic panic movement in the 80s, as well as the Night Stalker, which seems really random, but it does kind of tie all in together really well. This is my least favourite in the trilogy. I was so excited to see it when it first came out, and I did really enjoy it, but I think I mainly just enjoyed seeing a Ty West film and to see Maxxxine on the big screen again. So I think that kind of clouded what I actually feel about this film, because the more I think about it and rewatch it, it doesn't really live up to the other two and isn't really my favourite type of film anyway. I think I'm going to put this one in You're a Star, because I do really enjoy this trilogy and they are really interesting and fun to watch, as they are all very different. But yeah, for now that is my ranking. Of course it may change over time. I may do this again if I watch the rest of the horror films from A24 that I haven't seen yet, as well as waiting for some newer releases to come out. So maybe in like a year's time I'll be able to add a whole lot more to this tier list. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in another one soon.